You had the virus.
Yes, yeah, my whole family had, and no one was very sick. It was like cold or something like that. So we were
Better,
sick.
okay.
Yeah,
Better, because
yeah,
today I was looking on the TV, people of 30 years that have had in the hospital in the
yeah,
USA.
yeah. No, nothing like that. It was had some kind of headache and back pains and stuff like that, but no coughing, no snoring, nothing like that. So no sneezing. So it was actually quite okay. And we took the test, and they said, "Ah, you have the COVID, you have the virus." And then 1 month after, they took a blood sample, and they said, "Oh, now you have antibodies, so you're free to
Uh,
go."
I'm sure a lot of people had the virus or
Yeah,
had been sick and don't know because actually, I don't know. You can have a headache and maybe
yeah,
could be a symptom.
exactly,
That
exactly.
that's the thing. That's the thing.
Muscle pain, we had a lot of muscle pain. That was like the main symptom.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about the band and the new music. 2 years since last record mark of the Necrogram, when usually Necrophobic is not very prolific releasing albums.
Yeah.
Do you feel inspired in the last times maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I had a break from the band for a couple of years, and I think I built up some inspiration by those years. So when I started to write the riffs for Mark of the Necrogram, I just didn't stop. So it became two albums, on the same energy spree, so to say. So
I hear. Yeah. Sorry.
no, I'm
Oh,
finished.
okay. I think you have some changes in the lineup
Yeah.
in the last times. Tell me a little. Can you tell me a little bit about it, please?
Yeah, that is always, it's not easy to change lineups. We had Alex that has been with the band for many years. He's perfectly good at what he does, and we do our stuff pretty good as well. But it really didn't sound good together. There was some pieces missing, and the last years he moved very far from Stockholm, so it was kind of hard to keep the band together. We drifted apart musically, we drifted apart, and also how we planned to do stuff and like that. And when he left the band to think about what he wanted to do and so on, he took a long break from the band at the height of our career on the Mark of the Necrogram tour. He said, "I will be off for a while," and then we had to find someone very quickly, and we found Alan, who plays bass now, and things just did match. All the problems we have had were no problems anymore, So we felt like we have to go with this. Nothing bad about Alex, but together we were not the best we could be.
Mhm. Certainly, as you mentioned, a band is a group of people with maybe different interests,
Mm.
different personal
Yeah.
situations, and it's it's always a trauma.
Yes, it is. It is.
These changes,
Mm.
but it's very difficult, certainly, to maintain a lineup during 5, 10 years. And I admire that these bands that, and I'm sure that have their problems, but
Mm.
it's something to admire that a band it's together. I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. That it's. I admire bands that have had like almost no lineup changes. Like Metallica, they have had only the two other bass players. Motley Crue, for instance, has had the same lineup for all these years. But at the same time, those bands that keep together no matter what, they do some shitty albums. Don't you
Yeah.
agree?
So,
And you know,
I know.
Slayer.
Yeah, I know what you what do you mean.
Slayer has been together forever almost. I mean, not everything is Raining Blood. you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think sometimes it's necessary with lineup changes to make the band be as good as it can be. And it has to be about the band, not about the members. You know, as a fan, you want your band to be best friends. You know, you want to see them living in the same house and having all these like band meetings and partying and stuff. But in reality, it's never like that. You know, in reality, you don't communicate with everyone and so on. And I think the most important for me is that Necrophobic sounds like Necrophobic, and that Necrophobic will keep on putting good albums out. And if it's necessary to switch a lineup to make a new, better album, then that's necessary. You know, I think that's more important.
Maybe, as you said, it's necessary new blood to release good music for new ideas. Because you mentioned Metallica, and I remember watching this kind of movie or documentary. I don't know the name. We can do with you remember the documentary, some kind of monster. Watching that thing, and I was thinking, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I suppose everyone that are together during all these years passed through these difficult times.
Yes, of course, and it's very hard to be in a band. It's like being married to 4 other persons without the sex. You know, it's horrible actually. It's not easy.
At least beer.
Yeah, at least beer. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, talking about the album, I have to say, I think I was listening in the last days. I think so. It sounds killer, brutal, but with a clean production, just to listen each instrument, which is, I have to say, very difficult in some recordings of this kind of music. And I think I know a lot of fans prefer that sound, very noisy sound, like old school, the first metal bands. But I prefer to this kind of production. It sounds brutal, but with you can listen each instrument. What are your feelings about this? You agree?
Yeah, you know, I'm a record hunter myself, and the music I listen to in extreme metal, it usually has kind of bad productions. I mostly listen to extreme metal from the 80s, and back then they didn't really know how to do it. You know, there was a lot of noise. If you listen to Creator, Pleasure to Kill, or early Sodom album, you know, or Sepultura or Sarcophago, it's not easy listening, you know. But it's something totally different when you want to express your own art, when you want to express yourself, because I don't do the album I want to listen to. I need to get the music out of me. You know, this is I hear this sound, I get these visions, I feel the need to create, just like a painter or whatever artist, you know. And for me, it's important to that the product has all the parts that I want to communicate with, all the parts that I'm thinking of, everything that I hear in my mind that is important, I want to put out to you. And that doesn't sound like the first Sepultura album. It sounds like this, you know. So I don't know, maybe really old school fans of Norwegian black metal will think this is overproduced. Maybe fans that want Cannibal Corpse brutality will not like it, but that's not what we are about. I think the atmosphere and the feeling, but also the brutality and force, but are equally important in our music. So if we were only about brutality, the message wouldn't come through. You know, it has to have both sides, you know. to be great.
And maybe the thing that the fans love of this kind of albums that you mentioned, plus Trujillo, etc.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more. Yes, there are good songs there, but maybe this primitive young attitude
Yeah,
is that
for sure.
the people want from this kind of releases.
Yeah,
But
and
music, sorry, but musically, it sounds like a piece of shit the most part of time.
Yeah, and I think if you have the ability to do something that sounds like this, it would not be very honest to destroy it to sound like Pleasure to Kill. You know, that's kind of a hipster thing to do, to pretend that you are bad at mixing and bad at playing. I mean, you are what you are, and I think this kind of music should be as honest as it's possible to be. I mean, that's black metal is about being exactly who you are, not pretending to be someone else, you know. So I think copying early creator maybe is for 16-year-olds, but not for us that are close in 50. You know, it would be stupid.
Yeah, I can understand. I'm 45, and I can understand what you're saying. We were talking about the recording, and tell me a little bit about the recording process and the production for this album.
Yeah, this time we actually I did as the main songwriter. I made demos at my home here where I am, and now the equipment and the digital formats and how you can record are so good. So I kept all the guitars from the demos to the actual recording, you know. And also the other guitar player, Johan, he did all his parts at his home, and Alan, our bass player, did his bass at home. And then Frederick, that mixed the whole thing and produced it, he just reamped the pieces he wanted to have a different sound on and so on. So that's a big difference, and I think it was an advantage because we could work through the ideas more. We could lay more hours on this, and it didn't cost by the hour to do it at home. I mean, usually when you're in studio, the clock is ticking and the money is going by the clock, you know. But by doing as many takes you want on a solo at home, you can do it. You can take all the time you want, you know. And I think that was an advantage.
As in the last times, in the last couple of years, a lot of musicians are telling me this because I know that all this digital era that we are living, it's a fucking shit for all the music release because all the I think we are both old school guys because I prefer to buy a CD or a vinyl and not this kind of digital streaming and all this kind of stuff. But on the other side, for musicians and for the communications, for me, for example, doing interviews, it's like a benediction because you can work at home with enough quality to go to the studio after and to show to the producer or the other members of the band. This is my recording of my ideas, and sounds great.
Yeah. I think if we want it or not, we are stuck in this digital world. You know, if we have to adapt to it, we might as well like it. You know, we might as well see the benefits of it. I mean, what is the option to? We are here. We have to use this. You know, why not use it? That's how I feel. Yeah.
Of course. Talking about the album, for example, Tartarian Wings is one of my favorites with an interesting work on the guitars. What can you tell me about this song?
That was the main riff, the verse of it. Has this kind of battery pace in it. It's very old school. It's almost like our song Dark Side from the second album. So I wanted to something that did remind of the early days, but still with a new twist. And it was important that that song didn't go into a very fast pace. I wanted to keep it down. There's only two fast parts of it. And I think I also did lend, I was a little bit inspired by Destroyer 666 for the melody part of the verse, where there's like a thin guitar melody behind the vocals. That was more or less inspired by Destroyer 666. Usually I don't get much inspiration from other extreme metal bands. I usually take all my inspiration from heavy metal or other music, but this was the kind of thing that I felt like they would probably have done it like this, and I think it worked out well.
You mentioned heavy metal, and for example, the Shadows also take my attention because it's much more classic heavy metal oriented.
Yes, it is, and that song is an experiment. You know, it's actually very much inspired by another song and by the 80s. You know, when you had double bass drum in the 80s, like Accept used it and Motorhead used it and different bands used it, then that was the main theme of the song. The drums did double bass drum through the whole song. You know, you didn't do it for a little while. You kept the pace going the whole song. So the aim was to write a song with only one drum beat, only one drum pattern in it, you know. So there's only the same drums through the whole song, of course, with fills and breaks and stuff like that. And then the challenge was to make an arrangement that was very much heavy metal, but sounded like black metal. So the riffs and the atmosphere are very much, maybe even more than the other songs, in black metal atmospheric, but like the verse, pre-chorus, the chorus, the break, and everything is exactly like you would do a heavy metal song. And this was something I did because I wanted to see if is it possible to make this without getting goofy or like people would say, you cannot do that in black metal. But I think it was an experiment that actually worked out. It sticks out a bit on the album, but it's not strange.
You mentioned this double bass of the 80s, and I think it's a huge influence in a lot of metal bands since then.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, that's where we started. You know, we bought these albums and you looked for the fast songs and you were like, I'm gonna be in a band where this is all the time, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And for the Devil's Spawn attack, you have a special guest.
Yes, for sure.
Explain us a little bit, please.
We have Schmier from Destruction in this song, and this song is very special because the whole album was written when Central Media Records wanted one more track. They wanted us to do more minutes on the album, you know. And I was kind of pissed off at this because I felt like, this is my artwork. You're going to destroy this with one more song. And they said, well, it's in the contract. You have to write one more song. And I was like, no. And they was like, yes. and then I was listening to old Creator and Destruction and Sodom albums in this kind of rage. And I was listening to Pleasure to Kill and I was like, fuck it. And then I was like, I will write fucking Teutonic 80s pastiche, you know. I will do that kind of song that I'm listening to right now. So in like 2 hours from the idea to the finished result, I had written this song. I went to sleep, you know, and I was like, okay, they have their extra song. There it is. And when I woke up, I listened to it and I was like, this is not bad. This is quite good. But I felt this is so much 80s German thrash metal that we should call Schmier. We must ask him if he can do this. And our manager Leif is a friend to Schmier, and we asked him, can you get in contact with Schmier? Yeah, and he was like, yeah, I know called him up. He handed him the demo, and Schmier was like, "Yeah, sure, I will do this." And like 2 weeks later, we got his vocals on the recording, and I was stunned. You know, I'm very much a fanboy. I love record collecting and like reading about my idols and stuff like that. And Schmier is a big person to me. You know, I love Destruction in the 80s, and I still do it. So to get one of my biggest idols to do the vocals on a song that I wrote, you know, that was like, I just sat in the dark and listened to it. I was like, what the fuck? This is so great.
And their voice is perfect for the song.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and how they mix, you know, it's like, and Schmier sings like he did in the 80s. You know, he has these high pitched screams
Yeah,
and everything, and it's fantastic.
like in the live albums in the
Yeah,
80s.
exactly.
And it's married. First time you see married, this tall guy,
Yeah.
German with a, it's impressive, but it's very kind.
Yeah, of course. We have met him many times during the tours, during all these years of Necrophobic's career. So we have talked to him a couple of times, and he has always been a nice guy. So we felt like he might be up for this because he knows who we are. So maybe it will not be that strange, you know.
In maybe 2 months ago, I have a conversation with Smile for their last live release, and one of the funny things that said, "Oh wow, with this fucking virus,
Mm.
the music and prostitution will be last things to recover."
Yeah, probably.
That's their vision
Yeah.
of the situation.
Yeah. That's pretty spot on, probably.
uh, I read in some place that you don't want to do long tours,
Yeah.
just festivals and selected dates. But in the actual circumstances, nothing is possible. No festivals,
Yeah.
no selected dates.
Yeah.
It's a disaster for a lot of bands that
Yeah.
need to play to have some income money
Yeah.
to continue releasing and I don't know if it's the same feeling for you, but here everybody are afraid because nobody see the end of this situation.
Yeah, I know. We were fortunate enough that this came just when we needed to concentrate on this album. You know, all this time off the roads was kind of fit in our schedule because we could really work with this album and get the right sound. And also right now with the promotion, we have this possibility to meet on like this. It works, but now, of course, after October, we would have wanted to go out on the roads and promote this, and we cannot. So I think we have to kind of accept that the world changes, and you have to find other ways to reach out. I take a great time and also pleasure of communicating with fans on the net and try to be active in different forums in the underground and in things that interest me and still keep the metal scene alive. We cannot meet, but we still can make some effort. And I think with most band pages and stuff like that, the communication is like from the fans ask a lot of questions in the commentator field, you know, and never gets answers back. You know, it's usually the bands post something and then they will not answer fans, you know. But I think in these times it's extra important to have a live conversation with the fans all the time. So I have a lot of still a lot of contact with people who likes what we do, and I have more contact nowadays actually with the people that likes our music than I usually have. Usually we meet some at the meet and greet and you know, like a signing session or something, but you don't really talk. But these times on the net, I have so much more we're so much more on the equal side, you know. We are just musicians and heavy metal fans or extreme metal fans that are communicating in this kind of situation. So I think it has equaled us out, because musicians cannot be up here anymore, you know. We all are in this together. So hopefully that will be something good out of that when we can reach the roads again. If we can. Maybe we cannot.
I
Who
hope, I
knows?
hope. And what do you think? Maybe could be dangerous for a band to release an album in these pandemic times with no chance of playing live, and all this set a little bit of saturation that this digital live listening music, forums, websites, social media, etc. Because a lot of musicians in the last times explaining also that I'm not agree with the release date, but the label, there's contract, but I will prefer to maybe next year or in 5 months.
Yeah, you mean that they will schedule it further away. But I haven't experienced that. I think everybody's working as if the borders will open, as if the world will open. And if you live by this music, then you are fucked. You know, if
Yeah.
your income is, then you are fucked. You have to look in other direction. But for me as an artist, the art I create, that doesn't change, because most of all I'm a songwriter. Most of all I'm here where I sit now writing music. This is my everyday necrophobic work, so to speak. I write music. The piece of me that are out touring or on the roads is a very small part of being in a band. You know, that is just the top of the iceberg, what you see out on the stages. I still work as hard and I still put as much hours into my playing and into my writing as I always do. That has not changed. And for album sales and so on, I really don't care. I don't make any money from this, almost nothing. And if I make a little less, it will not change my life. You know, I go to work every day. You know, no one can survive on a musical pay. You know.
Listening to you, I remember some words that Aaron from My Dying Break tell me 4 months ago when all these things started. I agree with it. It's not my main income of money, the music. I enjoy the music. It's not.
Exactly.
I don't need to do 200 shows a year to survive.
No, that's true. And I think for us that are in this, not really underground, but almost, you know, it's almost the same. It's boring. It's very boring. That's it.
Yeah, that's the word. I guess that you have another interview on that now. I guess maybe.
Actually, not. I don't think
Not?
so. No.
Oh, okay.
Your last
Okay.
today, so we can talk. You know, it's okay.
No, because I prefer to do to be respectful with all other people
Of
that
course.
are waiting, because I'm the same in the same situations a lot of times. But just it's not a question, maybe kind of a joke, but try to imagine something. Wow, my English sucks today. That you play your very last show on the stage. Where should be this concert? Who should attend to the show? And which song would you like to play, like your last one in your life?
Wow. Well, we have. I mean, if you can dream big, you would.
Of course.
You. I mean, of course, you want to play the Hammersmith Odeon or Long Beach Arena or stuff like that, but I think for me, you know, when I grew up in the 80s, I always went to the concert on this ice hockey arena where they had concerts on the weekends. That was called East Stadium, which is the ice stadium. That was like holy ground for all the. I saw all the bands there. I saw Iron Maiden, Wasp, Twisted Sister, everything was there. And for me, that would be the first time I went to a concert was there with Iron Maiden on the World Slavery Tour, 1984. So to have my last ever concert at the same place would kind of have the circle, full. That would be fine. And I would want only people that have dedicated their life to heavy metal and extreme metal, that are in this for the music, not for the imagery, not to be in the right communities, not to try and fit in, but for real music lovers, for those who follow whatever they like because they like music, those who buy the albums, those who listen to it by themselves and enjoy it. Fill with those people on this arena that is so important to me. That would be the greatest.
And the last song that you...
The last song that I would... Oh, this is hard. I would play Revelation 666, which I think is one of our most epic songs. And the ending, long ending guitar solo there would be fine to do as my last thing,
And certain link with the show that you mentioned from Maiden, that in that tour play Revelations.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
Hi. Certainly, I don't know where we are going, because with no concerts, people are not buying CDs or vinyls. Maybe this is the final apocalypse for I don't know if not for metal music, but in general for culture. That because music is culture. And
but don't you think that actually we can get rid of the posers? We will, the ones that are really in this because they like it, the real artists that creates not to be commercial, but because it's a lifestyle, because they have to. People that have art inside of them that needs to come out, they will keep on painting, playing, singing, doing whatever they do, because that's not for... We create even if there's no commercial arena. And I think there will be a new underground. It will be much smaller. It will be something total different. But when we get rid of all the sponsors, when we get rid of all the money, when we get rid of all the capitalistic powers that want to change the music in this or that direction, we will probably get something more honest. You will get honest art, and that would not be that bad.
But we need new generations.
Yes, of course.
Up.
But I mean, my kids will grow up in this. They will manage. They don't know anything else. I'm a teacher too. I teach younger kids. It's very easy to inspire them to anything you want. Then they change and become your students, and then they will just listen to electronic music. But to say that we want these kids to do the metal we like is like our parents trying to get us to listen to Beatles. It's just not how it's done, and we have to accept that. Maybe our generation will die with this, but fine, we had a good run. I mean, at least the kids like some kind of art. It's not art that we understand, but my parents didn't understand Wasp or Venom at all. I mean, they were like, what the fuck is this? Sebastian, this is Pink Floyd. Listen to this. What the fuck? I want to listen to Black and Lawless, and you and me have the same discussion now. How can we inspire these young kids to like what we like? No, they should not. They should go like something else. But I think rock and roll, which this kind of is. I mean, rock is the enemy of conformity and the enemy of doing exactly what the older generation says. Rock is for the one who does whatever he wants to. Elvis did the same thing that Black and Lawless did, that Trey Azagthoth did, and that we do. It's kind of do whatever the fuck you want. So if we can teach the kids something, it's do whatever the fuck you want. And that is rock and roll in a way. Now, maybe it will sound like electronic music, but it's not up to us to judge, you know.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I express not very clear, but I say it because they are not interested in play real instruments.
Yeah, I know that's a dying art.
No, exactly. Not specifically metal or
I know.
just playing instrument, interest for music. Not just the rhythm. Pam, 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 pam. It's kind of.
I think they don't feel the need for it. You know, it's like if you have this caveman wanting us to stop using matches and using rocks to get a spark, and they are like, this is the real art. We have matches. The kids of today, they don't. Why should I have a guitar? I push this fucking button and I got this chord, you know. It's like, yeah, but I mean, my kids, I have 4 kids and 2 of them play guitar. So I think maybe the society doesn't put a lot of money in this kind of culture, in this kind of art of actually expressing yourself through an actual acoustic instrument of some kind, and that kids that have to find this by themselves tend to go to electronic music. And I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be famous. Okay, I don't care for that anymore. But when I was 12 years old, I wanted to be like Iron Maiden. And then I looked at them. They are being on the big stages, and they are banging their guitars, and they are making $1 billion and have a lot of fans, you know. So I started to play the guitar. The kids of today, they see the electronic DJs doing a lot of money doing their music, and of course they get inspired by the same, because you know, rock is not their first choice. But I think governments and society and school and so on should not let this go too easy. I think we have a responsibility to educate the kids at least at some part in playing the guitar and piano or drums and stuff like that, and see if they like it. We should not stop introducing it. You see what I mean?
I agree. Yeah. Okay, Sebastian, thanks for your time. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Okay, thanks for your time, Sebastian.
Thank you very much.
Hope to see you sometime in the future.
Hope
playing
so.
playing live, in my case, in Barcelona. That's the city closest to.
That would be
You
great.
played in Barcelona, right? I remember.
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I hope to
Okay.
see you
See
there.
you.
I hope in the future, or maybe in some summer festivals, hoping that we'll return at least next year. But I'm not very optimistic about all the festivals are saying next year, and I'm not very optimistic about next year.
I know. We'll see what happens. I mean, sooner or later we all had a virus, and then it will be, you know, it will probably not go away. You know, the virus. It will take us, and who is left will come to the concert.
Okay, thanks, Sebastian.
Okay.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.